Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me this Saturday morning. So, this is really nice that we are in the 10th disciple. Can you believe it? 10 disciples we navigated. And it's so easy to talk about the first, at least the first two triplets, should say. People would talk about the first six disciples easily, but not much is spoken about as we come to the tail end of Jesus' list of disciples in Matthew chapter 10, verse 3. But I would like to talk about this. Today, we want to focus on this disciple or apostle. We call him Apostle Thaddeus, or also known as Judas. He's also known as Judas. By the way, he's not Judas Iscariot, he is Judas, son of James. And I would add to my title, Does Love Means Obedience? What does love means obedience? I mean, I waited on the Lord, asking him, Lord, there's not much detail or data about this disciple. Please, can you tell me why did you select him? Why did you select him? What is so special about this person that you wanted him in your team? By the way, before I open and talk about him, I just want to ask you, have you been to Taj Mahal? Chris, why are you talking about Taj Mahal? This is one of the seven wonders of the world. And if I tell Priscilla, next time when your visa is done, you can go and visit that place, Taj Mahal. Okay, it's in your one of the bucket list where you want to see. I've been to that place. It's phenomenal. You should see it. Why am I talking about it? Because all of them know, history knows, Taj Mahal is built by Shah Jahan, right? He's the king, the Mughal emperor who built it for his beautiful sweetheart Mumtaz, right? Now, Mumtaz is so, it's like a tomb, mausoleum. It's like a tomb built for her. And by the way, it was built for close to 22 years. Can you believe it? For 22 years, someone constructed that tomb just for 22 years for his dear, passionate wife. But everybody think it is Shah Jahan who built it. Really? Now, sometimes you may think people will know the popular, the bold and the popular names people will remember. But behind behind this entire building, there are 20,000 people who built it. 20,000 artisans who built it for over 22 years. So there is a chief architect there. His name is Ustad Ahmed. Now, why am I saying? Sometimes people don't even know Ustad Ahmed, but the people will remember all like great giants. People will remember Peter, James, and John, but nobody will come to the tail end of the list or a VVIP we would call, or he will not make to the who's who is like Thaddeus. Whenever I said, I think even in our discussion, someone said, whoever it may be. So nobody is like really thinking who that person is, right? You can ask many people, they don't even have an idea. If you have not read this book, I want to tell you, Charles R. Swindoll, he wrote a book called Hand Me Another Brick. Hand Me Another Brick. I loved it over this week when I was reading about it because it talks about them. It's a book, a study on Nehemiah, book of Nehemiah. But there's one chapter will you would definitely put your hands on. It's called the willing unknowns. Unknowns in the Bible. You know there is a lot of unknowns. Probably you do you know the people who built the tabernacle, all the people who gave all the jewelry, do you have their names who gave the tabernacle? But that piece is very important. We will know Bezalel and Oholiab, all those people. But there are a lot of people who built the tabernacle, the artisans behind it, right? So, like that, there are not lots of names. Even in Hebrews chapter 11, the faith heroes, latter part of the chapter, you'll find there are a lot of unsung heroes in the Bible. That doesn't mean just because you're not famous, that doesn't mean you're not special. Let me say it. Just because you're not famous does not mean you're not special. They are called, Charles Swindoll calls it the willing unknowns. It's a heart willing to give, but you're unknown superstars, right? Likewise, today Thaddeus, we're talking about Thaddeus. Thaddeus is completely obscure personality. Nobody's interested. Even if you tell a bedtime story to your children, they will not be interested to listen. He's not that famous, or he's not in the who's who list. Okay, having said this as a background, I want to tell you some little introduction about him. If you're trying to find where is Thaddeus in the Bible, turn with me to Matthew chapter 10, verse 3. If you're there, you can read. You can read Matthew chapter 10, verse 3. I'm not going to read the entire list of apostles there. Out of the 12, you find the name Thaddeus coming as James. After James, the son of Alphaeus comes, and Thaddeus. Look at the word, put the circle there. So I'm not talking about a fiction. I'm not a Superman, Spider-Man, but I'm talking about a real personality called Thaddeus. And not only that, you will find his name coming in Mark chapter 3, verse 18. You will find the same name. So you're saying, Chris, I find the name Thaddeus written, but why are you calling him Judas as well? Then you will find it in Luke chapter 6 and 16. He is called Judas, son of James. And then you will find the same name in Acts chapter 1 and 13 as Judas, son of James. So, in exactly 4 places, you find the citation about who is this person altogether. By the way, this person has 3 names. Really? Yes. That's why people, when you have 3 names, you get confused who it is, and you don't want to study about them. Oh, too much complexity. I don't want to know more about you. Can you give me one name about you to authenticate? And do you know there's another name for him? If you are having a Bible version called KJV, King James Version, it will call him as Lebbeus. Now, Lebbeus and Thaddeus are the same people. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 3, he is called Lebbeus. So you will find that name. Even NIV and RSV would call him as Thaddeus. But I want you to keep this in detail in mind, because he is called son of James. Put that focus very clearly, son of James, not brother of James. And sometimes we get confused with this little detail, but that's a family detail. Coming to his family, the only detail about his family we have, this person, his dad's name is James. Uh, and very special, you find that the son of James has been added in the list, in the apostle list, because there were, Jesus want to bring a differentiation between Judas Iscariot and Judas, son of James. You get what I'm saying? So even John writes it, right? John chapter 14, verse 22. He'll say Judas, not Iscariot. He puts in a brackets. He put it, not Judas Iscariot. It is Judas, son of James. By the way, there's a lot of confusion. I mean, I tried to know a little bit about his occasion or occupation. I couldn't source much on that, but I'm curious, because what job someone does speaks more into their personality, which I keep saying. But definitely, he's not a fisherman. Keep that in mind. He's not a fisherman, and he could be definitely not that. He could be some other profession, some other trades. But there is a lot of confusion. I remember teaching to this group some several years, maybe 5 years before, the book, the little letter on the, we were studying all the little letters, and all the books in the Bible we were trying to read. One is the first little letter called Jude. And at the time we unpacked the author. The author is definitely not Thaddeus, because the author introduced himself as he is Jude, brother of James. Okay, not son of James. Why would an author introduce himself brother of James and not son of James? So that brings a little clarity. This apostle did not write the book or the letter of Jude, which you find some of you thinking, where is Jude? It's the last letter before you hit Revelation. It's in the New Testament. Okay, so there's another confusion. Many scholars debate about it, but I feel it's this cannot be that Jude. Okay, that Jude is different because he's a half brother of Jesus. We are talking about Thaddeus, Lebbeus, Judas. In the next 40 minutes, if I use these three names, I'm talking about this one person only. Okay. Thaddeus, Lebbeus, Judas. Uh, Now, because we have only limited information, I want to tell you there is interesting detail you can find. One from their name. Tell me your name, I'll tell you who you are. Have you seen that? Today, when you just give your name, people will find out, oh, are you from Philippines? Are you from India? Are you from, you have a name like Sanskrit, then they immediately think, are you a Hindu? You get what I'm saying? And somebody has a name like David and Paul, they immediately think, are you a Christian? But that guy may not be even going to church. You get what I'm saying? So, so people get a lot of detail about names. So beware what name you keep for your children. Your name defines who they are, who they can become, right? Uh, Now, I'm going to unpack on these three names. First of all, let's unpack the name Judas. Now, those days, Judas' name is very famous, popular name. Because today people want to keep names for their children. They say the most popular names in the season. They do an internet search and then they give names for their children, right? Those days, if they did an internet search, they would find the name Judas. And people, because the name Judas is so because of Judas Iscariot, the person who betrayed Jesus, Judas, nobody wants to, after that period, everybody cut their name into Judah or Jude because they don't want to identify with Judas Iscariot. You know what I'm saying? So here you have Judas, son of James. Now, Judas means the very word Judas, Jude comes from the word Judah, which is praise. You remember the early tribe, one of our patriarchs, the son Judah, his name is tribe meaning praise, and it also means Jehovah leads. So Judas is the given name. All of you have a given name which your mom and dad gave you that name. But after that, through the season, you get new names. Your friends give you names, and someone else gives you names, right? So this is the given name. So he has Jehovah leads, which means Judas. Okay, now coming to the second name, he has a second name, as I said, which is Lebbeus. Lebbeus is the Hebrew root name, which means hot child, hot child, very tender, compassionate, hot child. So if somebody calls him Lebbeus, you're very compassionate and hot child. Probably his friends called him Lebbeus and his parents called him Judas. Can you get that? Because it could be a high chance how he is called. But then the heart child also talks about the personality of Lebbeus or Thaddeus. Now I want to give you another information. The third name you have, which this person has, is Thaddeus. Thaddeus comes from the word Thaddeus. Thaddeus is the Greek root, and you find the name Thad means female breast. It means Thad means female breast, which is breast child. Okay. Now, when you say, in a way, it is to say he's a baby. Maybe to his mom and dad, he's a baby. It's a very special baby and uh, given to the Lord's kingdom and Lord's ministry. Probably someone the other day whom I saw, oh, my baby is here. And when you look at the baby, oh, the baby is 22-year-old, 6 feet. Oh, really? This is baby? But to the mom, it's a baby. Have you seen that in certain families? They still call you baby, right? Your parents call you baby. And to Thaddeus' mom, the Thaddeus' mom would call, oh, my baby, which means the breast child. And these three factors will define this special man, or tender, compassionate, courageous, hot child, like his friends would call him Lebbeus, and then he is part of Jesus' troop. Now, keeping these three things, I want to unpack something which is called the three C's, which you have to remember if you are even teaching or sharing or telling a bedtime story to your children. These three things you want to keep today. And I want to tell you these three C's not just came in like it's not just a point to keep in a knowledge, but then I want to tell you the Lord spoke to me so powerfully and probably speaks to you in the next few minutes. The first thing I want to tell you, the central faith question. The first C is, which I would call it the central faith question. The second C is Christ the revealer, or the Christ the manifester, or Christ the revealer, you can write. The third thing is Christian revealing Christ. Christians revealing Christ. What? Christians revealing Christ. So we are going to unpack something called Does Love Means Obedience? That's my topic today. Does love means obedience? Let's go to the first C. What really compelled me is this man. You don't find much data and detail about him in the whole of the New Testament. You only find one little anchor, one little secret, or a little seed planted by Apostle John in John chapter 14, verse 22. You want to read that, Suniva, verse 22, John 14, 22. Mm-hmm. You're muted.
Yeah, John 14:22, Judas, and not Judas Iscariot, but the other disciple with that name, said to him, Lord, why are you going to reveal yourself only to us and not the world at large?
Now, if you notice, only John writes about all these very not so famous disciples or apostles. Okay, that's very important. By the way, you know Thaddeus is part of the list of Jesus in Matthew chapter 10:3, in the Luke list, in Act list, you will find his name. So you know already, just because somebody is not famous, it doesn't mean he's not infamous. He is equal as Peter, he's equal as James and John. Just because we don't have more record about him, we can't say, oh, he's not famous, he's not more powerful, and all that. Today, probably people think like, oh, you're famous in YouTube, you're famous in all the papers and media, so you are the great guy. I want to tell you, there are a lot of insignificant people who are hidden across the clefts and crevices of our earth, which may not even have an internet connection, but they are powerful, which God is using them. Okay. Now, coming to that, if you find names in that list, it means the person is a disciple and apostle, right? If you read that in Matthew chapter 10:3, Jesus opens with saying, these are the disciples, and then immediately he calls them, these are the apostle. Can you see that? Matthew chapter 10:3. I mean, I just want to give that little, keep your little finger there so you know. And he called to him his 12 disciples. When you say the word disciple, disciple means learner, follower. Let's keep in mind, you and me are a disciple and follower. But immediately he says, verse 12, verse 2, you can say the names of the 12 apostles. So circle the word apostle, which means messenger, sent out. I'm not going to talk about these two words. We already spoke so much about those two words for the past 10 months. I'm going to go into John chapter 14, verse 22. Now, interestingly, you have only one little detail about it, and this is question raised by John himself. John saying, Judas, not Iscariot, but Judas, son of James, asked this question. Now, I want to give you a context. So, this is a central faith question. Why I call it a central faith question? What are the questions you ask God every day? Do you ask questions? No, no, no. I'm not supposed to ask questions. No, no. Please ask questions. Jesus loves people asking questions. Let me give you a context of this question. If you're reading John chapter 14 for the first time, this is Jesus on his final farewell, I would say farewell discourse. You know what is farewell discourse? Probably you're saying bye bye to your children. What would you say? The last few lines, probably Priscilla, you're saying bye to cons. What would you say? The last three, four things are the most important things in our life, right? You will say, do this, do that, do this, do that. For example, if you're saying bye to your children who just hopped into a train and you want to say the last few lines, what would you say? What would you say? And that's like that. Right now, Jesus is going to leave. Jesus is going to leave these 12 people, and now I would say 11, because at this moment, it's in this upper room discourse, Judas Iscariot already left the floor. Judas Iscariot already left the floor because he went after the Last Supper. You can read that in chapter 16 and chapter 15. You can read that. You can read that in chapter 13 and chapter 12. You can find how Jesus washes the disciples' feet, and the Last Supper happens, and then Judas clears the room. So that means there's only one Judas left in the room. Now, why did John write Judas, not Judas Iscariot? It's for you and for me, because we are not there physically in the room. So he's saying they know it's only Judas, son of James, is there, which is Thaddeus. But for us, he is giving clarity, it is not Judas Iscariot. So it is a context where you can see that Judas, the context is where Jesus is giving his final goodbye. Bye bye, he's going to say. Another few hours, he's going to go for crucifixion. So, this is a scenario. And the only question is the life changing question or the central anchor point question, which you find uh, Judas, son of James, asking. Not even anyone else asked this question. If he didn't ask that question, you and me wouldn't have the answer what we want today, my friend. I want to tell you, does love means obedience? Now, love, the word love is given so many definitions. If you open your internet, they'll give you so many definitions. But only Jesus can say love means obedience. Now, let's go in quickly. Before you ask this, I was thinking about this questions per se. In your life, there are a lot of people ask you a lot of questions. Probably if you go to job, your interviewer will ask you a lot of questions, right? And you are given a chance to ask question as well. So you can't ask dumb questions. You need to act smart. How do you ask the right questions, right? Probably your children through your bedtime stories, they'll ask you a lot of questions. And your own teenagers will ask you more questions. Or the church, if you're part of a church group, people ask questions. Don't ever stop asking questions. More than the answers, the question is very, very important. Even Jesus asked his disciples many questions. Now, the questions reveal the depth of a person. Do you know that? Any question you ask, the quality and your nature of your question reveals more about you. So, better ask the right question. Do you ask questions? And I want to tell you this question is very powerful because it speaks on the what is the interest of Thaddeus, what are his values, what are his thought process, what is he thinking, or what is his motivation. But sometimes, sometimes when people ask you questions, I have seen some people ask questions, you can study what is their intention. Oh, this person is not having a good heart, not having a good heart, not having a broad heart, very narrow, very narrow. You can find more about the person, right? So always, my friend, whether you ask questions at your job or at your workplace or anywhere, think you ask the right questions, and you ask the Lord to teach you ask the right question, because it reveals who you are. And we get very powerful lesson. I want to tell you that one question by Thaddeus, it's a game changer for all of us to understand love means obedience. Now, let me say, where is the question? Chris, you're talking about the question we read in chapter 14 of John 14, verse 22. I know we read it in ESV or NIV, but I want to give you a little glimpse about this. This question is very, very interesting. NIV will say, but Lord, why do you intend to show yourself to us and not to the world? Though you will find the word manifest. Sometimes this English word manifest is little high flown. So to make it very simple, show yourself. Why do you want to show yourself to us and not to the world? This is NIV. In Amplified, there is I love Amplified. If you're not a lover of Amplified, please, I encourage you. If you don't know certain text, just go into Amplified. It breaks it very easily, and you find that Judas, not as Iscariot, asked him, Lord, what has happened that you're going to reveal yourself to us and not to the world? So show yourself, reveal yourself, and that's what you can read. Now, so this is a very, very powerful, compelling question. Now, the meaning of the question I want to give you, the central faith question, what's the meaning of it? Now, sometimes when you think, you kind of process and channelize, right? Why did this person ask this question? Have you ever felt it? when you're finishing your interview or finishing your husband asking a question to you, why did you spend so much money? Why did you do this? Where did you go this? What, some questions like that, or your family or your children asking questions. Now that makes you think, like, what is this person really thinking, right? So there are three interpretations given for this question. Why did Thaddeus ask this question? Probably some of them say it could be probably he assumed that Jesus came to establish his earthly kingdom. If you ask any Jew, they would say, Jesus, according to the prophecies, you came to establish your earthly kingdom. And now you're saying you're not going to reveal to the world. So you mean to say your kingdom will not be known by others or by these Romans who are ruling over us? Can you see that? That's the typical Jewish interpretation. They would say they would only look from the physical eyes. They would not have the foresight to see the spiritual discernment to see what is that beyond the physical earthly kingdom. Okay, that's one thought process. Secondly, there's a high probability he could have asked this question. Look at that. If you put the tone of that, why to us and not to them? Why to us, not to them? Why are we special? So, in a way, it speaks on his humility, right? Lord, why to us alone and not to them? I tried saying this question in different tone. I want to tell you that over this last 10 days, I was toning it high pitch, low pitch, focus on why to us and not to them. Why us? Why? Or you put the focus on the why, or why on the us, which is the disciples. So it talks about the humility factor. Here he's talking about, Lord, what happens to the world? Because are we going to not cover it? Are we going to miss them? That's the focus there. The third interpretation, if you and me are like Thaddeus with Jesus, you would have probably thinking, Jesus, there are the Jewish book, because they had the whole Bible at the time, right? So every page has a lot of prophecies about Jesus, not just about his first coming, but also about his second coming. If you read Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, it says that you want to read Matthew chapter 24, 30, but it talks about the Son of Man and his end times. So he's talking not just to the disciples, he's talking to the whole world. Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. So he's asking, go on.
And then, and then at last the sign that the Son of Man is coming will appear in the heavens, and there will be deep mourning among all the people of the earth.
Now circle the word earth. Earth means the whole world. So now Thaddeus is confused, or Judas, son of James, is confused. Lord, you said to the whole earth, whole world, is your plans got changed. Now, I want to tell you, this man is an eye for detail, very, very deep. Sometimes you know how people look out for those words, look at for everything they speak. I don't know whether you do that. If you're a microbiologist, you'll be watching everything through the lens, right? Like that, you'll catch every little word because there's a little changes. You will be tone, word, gesture, emotion. Like this, we never know what his background is. But then this man was looking out for the detail. He want to be correct. He want to be accuracy is more important for him. With this, I want to tell you that's a central faith question. The central faith question there is, does faith means, does love means obedience? Does love means obedience? Because if you see that, the whole portion between John chapter 14, verses 15 to 24, if you read, that's all Jesus is talking about is his farewell address. But I'm going to unpack this a bit. I gave you a little outline, but I'm going to go deeper into this. What is this love means obedience? Okay, let's go there. I would title it as the second point, which is Christ the Revealer. Christ the Revealer. Now, my friend, I want to tell you, what is revelation, or what is manifestation? What is revealing all about? I know Jesus revealed to you in your own life, right? Probably you came to know about Jesus. Now, when he revealed to you, you received him, right? Let me say that. When God came in search of you and revealed and the gift of salvation in your life, you received it. If you have not received, you wouldn't have come this far. Let me give you an example. When it's like a radio station, if you the radio station will have two parts: the one who speaks and sends, and the other one who receives. So two components make it complete. In the radio station, it's very, very important. Probably you're speaking over your phone, your iPhone. It's not you speaking, the other person should receive what you're speaking, right? So it's all about salvation. It's not about one side. Sometimes people throw the entire blame on Jesus and say, oh my God, he is the one who has to come. And what about people who he already revealed 2000 years ago, but his own people rejected him? Yes or no? The Jewish friends, they rejected him, and that's how the Gentiles, the non-Jewish people, had a chance to know or come to faith. He opened it to all, like in the wedding of the feast parable. He opened the guest list to all, everyone, please come in. And I want to tell you, the concept of receiving Jesus is very, very important. That is more important. It's not just about he relaying. It's like the radio station relaying the message, but receiving is a very important. If you and me have not received, we wouldn't have come this far. And that is what manifestation is all about. So Jesus is interested in receiving. Who receives? Who are the people who receive? There are 8 billion people today in the world. How many has received him? That's a question I want to ask you. Let's go deep into this a little bit. I know I asked this question. Why some people not uh, Jesus is revealed? Why someone not receiving? Probably you think about it. Why someone is not receiving? Or you told about Jesus to someone and someone is unwilling, they'll tell you shut up, or they'll say they ignore, or they even sometimes they smirk, sometimes they reject. Why do they do it? I was thinking about so many of my friends and families, or someone who has not known Jesus, where you made an effort to tell them, hey, this is the good news, and they don't want to receive. Imagine, you give but they don't receive. There are three good reasons I felt, which Apostle Paul unpacks, and I want you to focus on it. The first thing is somebody still not willing to receive. Probably Vijay was talking about this. One is 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 4, which we call spiritual blindness. We have body, we have a soul. There is another inner compartment within you, we call it, even it has eyes, nose, and discernment, like your organs of the body, which is called the spirit part of you. We call it the spiritual blindness. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 will read that. If you're there, you can read Sunigwa. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. Very powerful. In their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. So that means spiritually they are blind. Some people, no matter how much you try, they don't want it. They are blind. They can't see it because the God, you see the word G, it comes in small letter G, which is talking about the devil, the enemy, Satan. Okay. The second thing is why some people do not choose Christianity, because we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, 7 will tell you, for we walk by faith, not by sight. So that means like you're not just led by your eyes alone, by your vision alone. You live by faith. And that's why you're called like a believer. You know how we are called? When you follow the way, you're called a believer, which means you live by faith, not by sight, not by what you see, but what you don't see. And the third reason is, on the second reason itself, I want to tell you, people have any non-Christian for that matter, when you share about them, they will say, can you show me? Can you show me? I want to see. I want to see, because they have a challenge or difficulty or a constraint to live by faith and not by sight. Walk by faith and not by sight. Okay. Now, the third element I want to tell you is discernment, right? Your spiritual perception. All the time, it's not just your five sense organs that would make you help a decision. There is something called intuition. There's something called your spidey sense, which I call it the perception. We call it, psychologists would call it the perception. You perceive things, and you perceive through your eyes, you perceive through your all capabilities within your body, right? Within, beyond your body, which is the spiritual discernment. First Corinthians chapter 2:14 will tell you. I really felt this was a very powerful text. If you're there, you can read this. Why some people don't want to know Jesus? Why some people reject Jesus? You want to read that? 1 Corinthians chapter 2:14.
1 Corinthians 2:14. For people who aren't spiritual cannot receive these truths from God's Spirit. It all sounds like foolish to them and they can't understand it. But only those who are spiritual can understand what the Spirit means.
Can you see that? How Apostle Paul writes that there are some people, uh, they cannot understand what you're trying to tell them. Have you seen that in your own connection and your families when whatever you talk, it's just fly up of, it's like overhead. It just cuts through. People not able to follow what you're saying because you can find that it says the natural person does not accept things of the Spirit of God. So that is like spiritually discerned. Not everybody is spiritual discerned. So sometimes when you say, that's when Jesus, I remember teaching last week, do not throw your pearl before swines. Right? So you can't put everybody in the same basket. There are people who are not spiritually discerned. Then why did Paul write that? Those are the three main reasons I felt someone is not wanting to receive Jesus. The relay is there. You get what I'm saying? Jesus' relay is there. The gospel will go ends of the world, but very few chooses the narrow way. And who is receives, those are the ones who make the eternity. Now that's what we're going to talk about, which I want to say on this particular, which I call the central question, or Christ the revealer. Christ the revealer, I know it's a pretty heavy topic, but I want to go into a little deep. Still, this is Thaddeus asking this question. Let's go into the third part where he says, he's talking about the word called love. You can see that in that portion, chapter 14, verse 15. If you love me, you will keep my commands. Okay, put your little finger there. If you love me, you will keep my commands. And then you can see in verse 24, whoever does not love me does not keep my commands or does not keep my words. 15, 23. 15 and 23, you cannot miss that. I mean, 24, whoever does not love me does not keep my commands. It's very simple and straight, but Thaddeus wants to unpack and ask Jesus, how can it be? But Jesus repeats the same thing again and again. If you love me, you will keep my commands. If you do not love me, you will not keep my words. This is what he's saying in 15 and 24 of John 14 chapter. Now, I want to tell you what is the best person in the whole Bible to talk about this topic called love is none other than Apostle John. Right? You can read first letter John, second letter John, third letter John. You can count how many times he used, dear children, please love one another. Even there's a little movie about Apostle John. He's the oldest, very old, like close to 90s and 96, kind of, groggy, and he still says, children, please love one another. That's his only language. That's his only mantra, I can say. In this gospel alone, 56 times he wrote about the topic on love. So you can count the maximum focus, the topic he focuses on is love. If you open Amplified, it's very interesting. He's not talking about just a kind of a brotherly love or a sexual love. He's talking about a agape love, a love that unconditional love for someone. So that means he's talking about a real love. That means he's talking where you love someone so much. If I ask you the question, how much do you love Jesus? How much do you love Jesus? Do you probably spend your quiet time? This is another raw question. Do you do your quiet time because you have to do, or do you do it because you love Jesus? Do you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning calling to him first, speaking to him first because you have a heavy romance with him? Or do you just do it, oh my God, if I don't do it, it's like more duty or a delight? Think about it. Whether your whatever you do, your life to live a holy life, do you do it as a delight or a duty? uh, my Bible talks about the word delight in so many contexts, right? In fact, delight in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart. In fact, Psalm chapter 1, he'll say, he who delights and meditates on it day and night, right? You'll find, why did he use the word delight? I really like the word delight and not a duty. And both you can find the word love and faith, all will have a connection towards obedience. Now when you say you love Jesus, you will obey Jesus. If you love me, you will keep my commands. If you do not love me, you will not keep my words. It's simple, straight. So, love and faith are inseparable. You can find again and again this connectivity. You'll see it, you can count it. I really counted and saw. You'll find in verse 15, verse 21, verse 3, 23, verse 24. You can find that so many times this connection and link. Today, if I ask the Gen Z and Gen Y, probably they show some romantic movie and say, oh, love is an emotion. My friend, if you ask Jesus, he would say, love is obedience. Love means obedience. Now, I want you to find a little change there. Today, there's a lot of false teaching around it. Jesus did not say, if you obey me, I will love you. Let me say that. Jesus did not say, if you obey me, I will love you. He'll say, if you love me, you will obey. You get what I'm saying? Now, if you say, if you obey me, you will love, then you people will think I have to earn, I can cross, I do 5 days fasting, I climb 500 hills or 400 mountains. You think like you can buy God's grace with your righteous acts. You and me, our acts are like, what is it? They are rags, filthy rags. That's what Isaiah writes, right? It's like filthy rags. So you can't really buy God. Certain faith, different faiths like Hinduism and other things, where we would believe that if you got to obey, then to be loved. But only Jesus says, if you love me, verse 15, if you love me, you will keep my commands. Automatically you will keep my commands because you love him, right? Now with that, I want to tell you, the world doesn't really love him, but you love him because you love him, because you have a loving heart towards him. That's the most important part I want to tell you, my friend. This goes together, we cannot separate it. I want to give a little focus on the word obedience. This is not a very not everybody likes the word much, but you can see the word coming again and again. You will find the word keep. Whichever the text of the Bible you're using, you'll see that if you love me, the word keeps my command. You can see that keeps me, sustains me. You need love to start your Christian faith. I want to tell you, this is the separation. If you want to start your Christian faith, you need to love. Love will help you to start, but obedience will help you to sustain. Obedience will help you to stay, endure the race. I know in your Christian walk you come across so many challenges. It's not easy. Sometimes certain seasons you don't want to, you're not feeling well, right? You're not. But are you in a place to obey him? Come what may. It's like Peter, I jump into the water, but still, can I obey him? Look at Jesus, the author and finisher, the perfecter of our faith, right? Keep that in mind. And I just want to say you'll find that word, oh, keep, coming again and again in verse 16, verse 21, verse 23, verse 24. You can read that. There's a person called Charles Spurgeon. I don't know whether you know him. He's a silver tongue preacher. Charles Spurgeon writes, in fact, he writes, when someone obeys, when a Christian obeys, that you know what happens? Salvation is when you have a certainty where like you go to heaven. But when you obey, it's heaven coming to you. It's not about little obedience. It is not about like moderate obedience, but it's about 100%, where you say it's about great great and 100% obedience, great faith, great love, and great giving, going deeper and deeper in your obedience. Sometimes it's very hard because you want a lot of proof to obey, but obeying Him no matter what, 100% He's talking about. So that is all about receiving, my friend. I want to tell you, receiving, when you say you want to receive Jesus and you want to, He is ready to relay, but are you ready to receive Him 100%? Sometimes you have lot of detail and data. You can say like, Jesus, I know now it's good for me to obey. Sometimes God takes you through a season, you don't have all the details. Are you ready to obey Him? Are you still passionate? There are people in marital life, if they're married for 30 years, 40 years, sometimes their love kind of comes down, right? It becomes very temperate. But only Jesus love, if you have been a Christian for 25 years, 35 years, or 5 years, is your love has bloomed? Is your romance have become deeper and deeper, or is it become like a duty? Think about it. It's time for you to refresh, like the Ephesus church, not giving up your first love. Your first love is the strength of your love is so, so important. Finally, my friend, I want to talk about the third C. The third C, which is very important, is it's not only Christ revealing to you, you and me are a Christian revealing Christ to others around you. It could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be a neighborhood, it could be your community, right? You are there as a salt and light in your place. And I want to ask you, we are so much bothered about Christ revealing to us, right? Lord, reveal yourself to me. Reveal, reveal. We can pray. But how are you revealing Jesus to someone else? Because 24 bar 7, you're revealing yourself. Sometimes people reveal their body, sometimes people reveal their popularity. You can open internet, you can see what do they reveal more. People reveal all the things about everything. I've seen people reveal about the places they have been, or places, the personalities they have come across. But so many things you can reveal, so many things about one, about yourself, about your own personality. You're revealing non-stop to someone. As we are in this group right now, we are revealing about ourselves to something. So how much of Jesus are you revealing? That's the question I want to lay it in your heart. There are two things he's talking. I said love means obedience. The two things I want to say, do you, number one, do you reveal Jesus by his love? By his love. In fact, John, as I said, is the best example to read. You want to read John chapter 13, 34 to 35. I really like this text. Probably you know it in memory. A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. As Jesus says, it's easy to love your friend, someone who loves you. Come, come on. There's someone who is like going on slandering, backbiting, bad mouthing, lot of things about you. How are you able to love? Have you seen that? You know for sure some people in your family or in your connection or in your workplace, they are not everybody in the world will love you, right? So there are some enemies or some people who don't like you for some reason. Now, how are you able to show the love? But that's what Christian revealing Christ. Like, it's like Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's pastor, Charlie Kirk's wife. Or you can say that how was she able to forgive that guy who gave the shot on Charlie Kirk's throat? You get what I'm saying? Where she talks about an enemy. And it could be, what is that you are able to, when you say forgiveness or love, it's or reconciliation, it's easy to forgive someone far away in Africa, but it's easy, very, very difficult to someone who you are living with. It could be your own spouse, or it could be your own children. They do it again and again, where Peter asks, Lord, how many times I should forgive? So when you say the word, I mean, the answer Jesus says 70 times 7, it's talking about a perfection, a number of perfection where forgiveness is a habit. Now, revealing Jesus, why some people can know Jesus through you, not because you recite so many verses in the Bible, but by your personality. If I can do a quick check on your own contact list and ask, hey, can you tell me how is Priscilla? And those are the people who give you testimony, right? People who could talk about who you are and what you have impacted in their life. Did they find a distinction by your love? Like, say I all contact Kathy's list completely. Hey, tell me, this lady from Nova Scotia, is she a person of love? That's a question. Or people can ask me, is Chris, can you say she's a person of love, a revealer of Christ? That's the most important question. The second thing I want to ask you is, reveal Jesus by your obedience to the word. Does the word of God comes the number one in your life? Hey, I can't do that. I can't do that because my Jesus doesn't says no to it. For example, my friends here, looking out for a life partner here in this room. When we ask that question, my Bible says, "Do not be yoked with an unbeliever." So, can I date a believer? Unbeliever? Can I date an unbeliever? So, even an unbeliever opportunity comes your way, you're going to say, "Hey, I can't take a proposal now. I wish I say yes to you, but I cannot because my word says I cannot be yoked with an unbeliever." You get what I'm saying? Where obedience to the word comes your superlative, or that's the priority. So it's not about just Christ revealing to you. Here, Thaddeus is asking, as a Christian, you're revealing Christ to everyone whom you come in contact with. These two things happen 24 by 7, which is love and obedience. Love and obedience. It's like two sides of the coin, which you cannot miss. And my friend, I'm telling you, it's not that I'm complete. I'm still learning on this. Every time you cross check and say, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting." In some days when you're not, when your love purity is tainted a bit, a little shady, then you say, "Lord, help me pour your love within me so that I can show that agape." Or in obedience, sometimes it could be a delayed obedience. Delayed obedience is disobedience, right? When you don't want to, people say, "Oh, I can do it later. Jesus, I can do my quiet time, not this week, maybe next week." Or you're not even sometimes when you say, "Okay, I like Daniel, I want to do 3 times a day or 2 times a day, at least minimum to start with." Some days you keep the promise, Jesus comes and waiting, and you don't be there for the quiet time, you miss out. Or you not turning up to church for ages. Think about a lot of things. Or you missing on fellowship where, or your spiritual maturity. Now, these are things is like talking about obedience, where you grow in the word. Finally, my friend, to conclude, I know we're on top of time, but I just want to conclude with this person, Thaddeus, Lebbeus, Judas, son of James. You know what? It's about not being in that list then, but he's a personality who continued. What makes me say that? You can turn to Acts chapter 1, verse 13. Someone there, you can read Acts chapter 1, verse 13. In that list, you know what? You'll find him. You will find him even after Jesus leaving, ascension towards Jesus leaves earth. And you know what? You'll find Thaddeus, Lebbeus, Judas, sitting, even Mother Mary was sitting there, who needs to be filled with the Holy Spirit, okay? And his brothers, everybody there in that upper room. Judas was not missing, he was there. Want to read that, Suniva?
Yeah. When they arrived, they went to the upstairs room of the house where they were staying. Here are the names of those who were present: Peter, John, James, Andrew, Philip, Thomas, Bartholomew, Matthew, James, son of Alphaeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas, son of James.
Can you see that? Can you see his name coming in? I want to tell you, you another one more thing. It's not just he being there. It is also very, very important. These 12 apostles. Dr. Luke captures this, but also Apostle John. He mentions this in Revelation. Revelation chapter 21, almost at the last tail end of the Bible, 21:14. He says, the names of the apostles will be on the foundations of the heavenly walls, right? Another thing you'll find, the foundation is not this, that is the new Jerusalem, new heaven and new earth. Who is this person who will be ruling along? Thaddeus, Judas. he will be one of the millennium rulers. You can find that in Revelation chapter 21 verse 14, and even Luke chapter 22:30. In fact, he says there is a throne for you. You will, Jesus promised him, I grant you the privilege to sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So you may not have much detail about all the stories or histories about Lebbeus or Thaddeus, but I want to tell you, he's going to be showing up in that millennium rule. He's going to be there. He's going to have a special throne. Likewise, you and me have a special throne. Do you know that? You have a special throne, you have a crown, and this obscure Thaddeus will reign in millennium. I was very curious about it. Sometimes, what happened to this man? You don't have, Bible doesn't have a much record about him, but the church history has a record about him. Like any other rulers and king, you will find some people say he has been to Syria, some says in Turkey, some says Persia, but he is up there in the north. That much I can tell you definitely. And he is known for his exceptional, powerful gift of healing. So wherever he went, people got healed. So he touches something, people come to him, they get healed. Like that, one king, in Syrian king, his name is Adgar. Now, he calls him Adgar of Syria. He says he's ill on bed, and now they call, who has been invited? Thaddeus has been invited to come for do a healing, to pray over Adgar, and he gets healed, and this Syrian king becomes a Christian. And what happens is his nephew, who's an apostate, he doesn't believe in the faith or in Jesus, and then he becomes the, what to say, the revolutionist, to imprison and probably martyr Thaddeus. Now, if you say his martyrdom, some say he's crucified, but I feel most of it points to one thing: he has been imprisoned and he was murdered with a big club. Big club. Because every disciple in the Bible, they have a symbol. The early church history book will tell you they have a symbol. And the symbol for Thaddeus, it is none other than a big club. You're beaten to death. Sometimes you know the club. Sometimes one time the beating with a club on your head, you're gone. Your skull just goes into splinters. And now this Thaddeus, for all that he has done, to speak on love means obedience, for all the love he gives, for all the obedience he has made, he was beaten to pieces, into small pieces, by a big club. My friend, I want to just tell you sometime, you may not be famous, you may not be very popular person, or no one knows me, I'm a loner, I'm so quiet person, I'm an introvert, nobody knows me. I want to tell you, Jesus doesn't care about all that. You may not be known for all that, but what he cares. Remember the 5 loaves and 2 fishes? Do you ever know who's the boy's name? Nobody knows. If he has not, his name is anonymous, intentional, so that 5,000 and 6,000 plus people could be, fed that day. So you're not in the spotlight, but every labor, every work you do for Jesus, I want to tell you, sometimes not even your boss, or not even your manager, or not even your own family recognize your work you do, but God is watching every deed, every work. I want to tell you, this last verse really was very powerful to me. Sometimes you think like, why I do what I do? Is it really matters? Chris, you're doing all this. Is it really matters? Why would you give a Saturday morning and doing this? Now, I want to tell you, to encourage each one of you, you should read Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10, which is very powerful. It says, for God is not unjust so as to forget your work and the love which you have shown for his name in ministering to the needs of the saints, God's people, as you do. You want to read it in NIV or other version, Suniva, yours? I read it from Amplified. So God never overlooks one deed, not even one deed he overlooks. Okay? One deed, not 100 deeds you have done right for like the last 50 years, you have done many. You would have forgotten. But God never overlooks one deed, my friend. Oh, what you want to read?
Yeah. Hebrews 6,
Verse 10.
verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
Hebrews 6, verse 10. For God is not unjust. He will not forget how hard you have worked for Him and how you have shown your love to Him by caring for other believers, as you still do.
As you still do. So you will never miss, my friend. Nobody is watching you. You're not in the spotlight. God is watching you. That's what I want to tell you. And one thing today, this is 2000 years have gone. There are not many preachers talk about Thaddeus, but you and me have covered Thaddeus. We put a lot of focus on Thaddeus, and he lives. Thaddeus still lives, unknown but not forgotten. The life of Thaddeus is so powerful, teaching us love means obedience. Shall we pray? Father, thank you for unpacking this morning. Whatever you have taught us, O God, where you reveal, it is our responsibility to receive and also to understand Christ the revealer, to understand the love which you showed, and so that we show a love in delight. Do we delight in doing, in coming and connecting and doing things for you, or is it a duty? Father, if we have done it as a duty, oh Lord, forgive us. If like kind of becoming lukewarm in our approach, we are sorry, oh God. Today, oh Lord, revive our love. Help us more passion and fervor into our lives so that we love like nobody else. You loved us when you stretched out your arm and you showed us how much you loved us. Likewise, help us to obey no matter what, whether what we see or what we do not see, but we know we have a hope in you. Thank you, Lord, for speaking to us. In Jesus' name we receive. Amen. God bless. I want to pick up a question.